Back in 1323, in the middle of the ocean, a huge ship sailing from China to Japan gets completely swallowed up by a massive typhoon. We're talking about a vessel carrying about 100 crew members, tons of cargo, a whopping 8,000 gold coins, and 20,000 pieces of pottery. Seriously, 20,000 pieces of pottery. It's been a treasure hunter's dream ever since. A ton of people have come and gone trying to find that shipwreck. They've managed to pull up loads of that pottery, and let me tell you, it's worth a fortune. Fast forward a few centuries to 1962, to a small town near Seoul, South Korea. Our story really begins here. We see a young, dirt-poor kid, practically begging, trying to stop some cops from barging into his house. See, these cops were on the hunt for anyone suspected of being against the government, and the kid's uncle, Gwon-suk, was supposedly one of those guys. Desperate to avoid an investigation, the uncle shoves 101, like a tiny amount of money, into the cop's hand. It works. The cops take the bribe and leave without searching the place. After they're gone, Uncle Gwon-suk asks his sister where his brother is. She doesn't know, and she's ticked off because the cops trashed the house. This is when Uncle Gwon-suk tells the young Hee-dong something that sticks with him. He says, holding up the 101 bill, this can change your life. This is everything. It's the first time Hee-dong really grasps the value of money. From then on, Hee-dong starts working with his uncle, basically as a lookout for a string of petty crimes. Whenever Uncle Gwon-suk would sneak into warehouses to steal stuff, Hee-dong would act as a distraction, blocking the owner. And just like that, Hee-dong grows up helping his uncle steal, from small stuff to bigger stuff, like the time they go after a truckload of beer at a brewery. It's heavy, but they're determined to make their getaway. However, things go wrong. As they're hauling the beer to their cart, the brewery owner catches them red-handed. Uncle Gwon-suk, cool as a cucumber, tries to play it off. He literally hands the beer back to the owner and says something along the lines of, "You've worked hard, but not as hard as those guys loading stuff outside." Of course, that doesn't work. Hee-dong is left to sacrifice himself, trying to fight off the guys from the brewery, while Uncle Gwon-suk, the ultimate opportunist, runs away with the beer. Hee-dong realizes this whole life of crime is putting their lives at risk for peanuts. And then, the inevitable happens. The cops show up for a raid, looking for the stolen goods. To make matters worse, Uncle Gwon-suk kept a detailed record of their crimes, including the amount stolen. So it's an open and shut case. They get busted. But here's where things get even weirder. While in jail, Hee-dong meets an antique appraiser who is constantly being picked on by other inmates. They don't mess with him because he's considered insane. Before they're sent out to clean the exercise yard, Hee-dong introduces the old man to his uncle. Turns out, they already knew each other. The old man is named Song. He asks Hee-dong's uncle what a rotten kid who beats up his cellmates is doing. His uncle replies that it is his nephew. Gwon-suk then tells Hee-dong that he will soon be moved to the same cell as his nephew. The uncle and nephew criminal duo just got a new fan. The uncle gets transferred to the new cell by bribing the guard. Gwon-suk, with his clever tricks, becomes the treasurer in the prison. Gwon-suk is all about knowing the ins and outs of supply and demand. He figures if anyone wants to start a business, he can find the location, get the money together, and hire the staff. Now that they're cellmates, the uncle and Hee-dong start brainstorming about what kind of business to get into once they're released. The guy in the next cell is talking about bootlegging liquor, or maybe even marrying some rich widow. Hee-dong isn't too thrilled about that. He's worried about getting caught. Plus, he claims he already has a girlfriend. Turns out, she breaks up with him the moment he gets out of jail because he's just a petty thief, and even the ring he gave her was a fake. Fast forward to 1977. The uncle and Hee-dong are out of prison and trying to find a way to make a living. After getting dumped, Hee-dong goes to visit the old antique appraiser, Mr. Song, in prison. Mr. Song has a new mission for them, and that's why he called the super thief nephew-uncle pair to meet him, because after all, they have nothing else better to do. After all, it is not easy to go steal today. Mr. Song tells them about a shipwreck off the coast, supposedly filled with treasure, like 8 million in cash and nearly 20,000 pieces of ancient pottery. Mr. Song wants them to dive down there and bring that stuff up for him, and he's willing to pay them up front. He offers 400,000 won, which is like half a year's salary for a government employee. The broken uncle and nephew start getting interested. Back at home, drinking and talking it over, the uncle and Hee-dong start wondering why Mr. Song would hire them instead of someone else. If this gets out, everyone will know about it, and the more people who know, the less profit there is. Plus, this is valuable pottery, so things are going to get tricky. However, the uncle has bigger plans than just getting 400,000 won. Uncle Gwansuk says there's no telling how much stuff is down there. They should grab a few pieces for Mr. Song and then skim off the top. First things first, they need to go to the docks and get some intel. They head to a coffee shop near the sea called Lucky Cafe. Hee-dong is instantly smitten with this girl who looks exactly like the woman he was drawing. Hee-dong starts asking around about the captain of a diving boat. Turns out, some sailors are at the same cafe, bragging about how they're pulling up pottery and selling it. The word about the shipwreck is spreading, and more people are showing up. The uncle and nephew aren't going to be able to steal as much as they were hoping. Hee-dong calls his uncle, saying, "This deal might not be so great after all. Everyone knows about it." But then he tells his uncle to do it anyway. The uncle asks why, and Hee-dong just says the coffee is good. But it is actually because he is into the girl in the cafe. As soon as he hangs up, the girl from earlier reveals she was eavesdropping on Hee-dong's conversation with his uncle. She wants him to treat her, but Hee-dong is so cheap that she gets annoyed and walks away. Hee-dong then tries to stop her, saying he will get her raw fish. Seonja then says that the captain earlier told her to keep an eye out on everything that Hee-dong is doing. While the others talk, a group of sailors get jealous seeing his sister Seonja is with another man and accuse Hee-dong of cheating with her. The girl doesn't like those guys at all. But luckily, the cafe owner, Yang, steps in before Hee-dong starts a brawl. Meanwhile, near Mr. Song's house, Uncle Gwansuk sees a man, Mr. Han, visiting Mr. Song's house. Curious, Uncle Gwansuk sneaks a peek at a piece of paper, discovering that Mr. Song is meeting with Mr. Cheon tomorrow. So the next day, Uncle Gwansuk follows Mr. Song to Hungbeek Corporation, trying to figure out what Mr. Song is up to. Outside Hungbeek Corporation, a director is on his way to meet the chairman with a gift in hand, and he ends up in the elevator with Uncle Gwansuk. Up there, in front of the chairman's office, Uncle Gwansuk realizes that the antiques are worth way more than Mr. Song is paying them. He's so mad. So, when Mr. Song walks out, Uncle Gwansuk is about to blow the whole thing up and yell to everyone that Mr. Song is ripping them off. Seeing this, Mr. Song has to drag the uncle back inside to renegotiate their deal. The difference in their price expectations is huge. Uncle Gwansuk asks how much Mr. Cheon wants to buy. Mr. Song says he wants to buy as much as they can find. Gwansuk asks what happens if they don't find enough. Mr. Song anticipated this, so he dropped fakes into the ocean. After 3 to 6 months covered with barnacles, they'll look 600 years old. The fake pots have already been seeded on the seabed. The uncle only needs to put a few real ones at the front. He need not worry about this. However, that original 400,000 won isn't cutting it for Uncle Gwansuk anymore, especially after hearing what's going on at the coast. Out of options, Mr. Song has to cough up more money for the uncle and nephew thieves. Mr. Song then introduces his nephew. The guy's a former boxer, so Mr. Song tells them to be careful. But immediately after Mr. Song says that, Hee-dong punches him, right in the face. That's how much they're going to get along. Uncle Gwansuk, intrigued, asks Mr. Song why Mr. Cheon is so into pottery. Mr. Song then tells a story about the past, when Mr. Cheon still had a family during the Korean War. To earn money, Cheon started speaking English fluently, despite not knowing how to read. After that, he did business with the US using US products and started making money. Mr. Cheon's father then founded Hungbeek Plastics, which is now Hungbeek Corporation. Right now, Mr. Hungbeek wants to open a university, so given the complex issues about students, he wants to start with antiques. The problem isn't Mr. Cheon, though. It's his new wife. She can detect the smallest errors in the books and figure out how much money her husband is trying to hide. She only needs to hear the financial reports. The next day, Mr. Song tells his nephew and the uncle-nephew duo to get along. On the other hand, Hee-dong has zero intention of getting along with that person. Mr. Song tells them that when they get to the docks, go to this address because there's a guy from the museum who can help everyone evaluate the value of the pottery. Coincidentally, the chairman and his wife are also there to see who Mr. Song hired. The wife recognizes him as someone who was at the company, so she knows something shady is going on. However, she instructs one of her henchmen to supervise the team. Sensing something is wrong, Mr. Song pulls Mr. Cheon aside to talk. Uncle Gwansuk is worried and sarcastically asks if they can trust the wife's pick. The wife only instructs that he is to follow them no matter what. Seeing Hee-dong's cocky attitude, the wife asks him a question, but he doesn't answer. John Chul wants to lose it, but gets stopped. The wife tells John Chul to do what needs to be done. After discussing some things with the chairman, Mr. Song calls Uncle Guansuk over. When you get to the docks, you'll need to pay attention to one more thing. As soon as everyone gets on the boat, John Chul starts a fight with Guansuk and kicks him out. John Chul accidentally throws the book at the group of delinquents nearby, making them think he is starting a fight. Hee-dong is about to blow a fuse, but Uncle Guansuk stops him. The thugs ask if John Chul isn't going to apologize to them, but he starts taking off his shirt, revealing a body covered in scars. "You want to bet on this, you punk?" And then all hell breaks loose. They start clawing at each other, yelling, and soon everyone is getting involved in a massive brawl. After arriving at Mokpo Port, the uncle leads his group straight to Mr. Ha's place. The contact Mr. Song told them to visit. This place will be their lodging for the coming weeks. The host, Mr. Ha, asks Guansuk what his Chinese zodiac sign is. Hearing he is a pig, he starts bragging. "These guys may look tough, but no one has ever laid a hand on my hair." He then shows off a scar from a knife fight. "I'm a tiger, born on the hour, day, month, and year of the tiger." Right after he says this, John Chul takes off his shirt, showing off a body covered in scars, even a gunshot wound. "Why don't you ask Mr. Ha where he got so scared?" Once inside, Guansuk asks Mr. Ha how the pottery was discovered. Mr. Ha says back in the day, fishermen would keep pulling up pottery in their nets, but they were afraid that it was the belongings of the dead and would feed it to their dogs. One of the sailor's younger brothers then discovered a bowl and reported it to the district. Then, people from the Cultural Heritage Administration realized that it was from the Yuan dynasty of China. He starts analyzing and concludes that the ship carrying cargo from China to Japan probably passed through this area. But the area is full of islands and reefs, so the ship may have crashed, scattering the cargo into the sea. After getting some information from Mr. Ha, John Chul calls Mr. Cheon to report. Mr. Cheon only tells John Chul to keep an eye on the divers because all of them are here for the money. Right after the phone call, Hee-dong starts picking a fight with John Chul. They start yelling at each other like cats and dogs. The older brother threatens to chop the younger brother into pieces and feed him to the fish, and the younger brother calls him a moron. The girl Hee-dong has been crushing on appears behind him, telling him to keep his promise from last time. John Chul asks if he has been here before and why he came, but Hee-dong doesn't answer. John Chul suspects that these guys are planning something and came here early. Meanwhile, at the inn, Mr. Ha gets news from a captain that a 10-ton boat has called him. Coincidentally, the uncle and nephew duo have just arrived back, so everyone goes to Captain Huang's place. After sitting down to eat, Hee-dong finally admits to John Chul that he met the girl from earlier once. "I gave her a little attention and she wouldn't leave me alone." John Chul immediately says, "You're such a player. Just broke up with your girlfriend, and now you're flirting with someone else?" Hee-dong says he just wants to find some joy to help him through his sadness. When Captain Huang sits with Mr. Ha and Guansuk, he finds out that these two are here to salvage pottery. He immediately offers information about the location with pottery to be found. The pottery that Captain Huang found is in waters 20 m deep, between 4 to 5 islands, and the center of 3 islands with a strong current that is very fast. While they're talking, the thugs from the port show up at Captain Huang's place. They sit at Hee-dong's table, asking if he has ever eaten a white pomfret. Out of nowhere, the leader slaps Hee-dong in the face, all because he doesn't know how to eat a white pomfret. Hee-dong looks at Uncle Guansuk, asking for guidance. The leader hates city slickers and teaches Hee-dong how to eat a white pomfret. Despite being annoyed, Hee-dong grabs the white pomfret and eats it in one go. He just wants this to be over. Seeing the whole thing, John Chul gets angry and tries to pull out his knife, but the head thug snatches it right out of his hand. The head thug tells the Seoul crew that they should go outside and talk things over. Dae-sik, the nephew who has 0 redeeming qualities, is itching for a fight and wants to challenge someone to a one-on-one fight. Outside, Dae-sik does a few martial arts moves, but is scared out of his wits when he sees the knife. So instead of going in for a proper martial arts duel, he looks for a wooden stick. Hee-dong stops these two morons from getting into a fight. The head thug suddenly turns to Hee-dong and challenges him about why he is stopping them. Meanwhile, inside, Captain Huang is negotiating. He wants half of the profits from the pottery they find. Uncle Guansuk doesn't agree and only wants to give the captain 30%. If they find 100 pieces, he can take 30 pieces and sell them himself, because the pottery shouldn't be sold here but in Seoul. The uncle then starts talking about all the difficulties and costs of getting the pottery to Seoul. Meanwhile, outside, The uncles and nephews are still arguing and trying to decide who will fight whom. Police officer Sim suddenly shows up and asks what this group is doing here. Suddenly, the national anthem starts playing, and the fighting stops as everyone stands at attention to sing the anthem. It seems like the thugs were still patriotic regardless of the situation. After the anthem ends, police officer Sim asks what the thugs are doing there. The head thug isn't afraid and even calls the cop a jerk. "Get those soul jerks out of here." Police officer Sim then asks who gave him the authority to kick people out and if he wants to brawl with the police. As he leaves, police officer Sim tells him to go home and take care of his mom. The thug doesn't know whom to vent his frustration on and starts beating his little brother. Captain Huang then comes out and pulls police officer Sim away. What's going on here? Why the big crowd? Uncle Guansuk is a suspicious man and doesn't trust Captain Huang. He doesn't believe the captain, someone who's been a fisherman all his life, suddenly knows how to trade ancient pottery. There must be someone behind it. He also tells Mr. Ha not to contact Mr. Song anymore, and that he will be the only one making contact from now on. After calling Mr. Song, Guansuk tells him that he should only talk to him from now on, because everyone here is a scammer. When he asks how much money is needed, Guansuk lies and says they need 5 million won, not including extra fees. And just like that, the mission to find ancient pottery went from 400,000 won to 5 million won. Guansuk doesn't want to beat around the bush and wants the money he needs. He also asks if Mr. Cheon is planning to get rid of John Chul. Because the cost of this pottery hunt is increasing, Mr. Song needs to ask a pottery friend to produce a large quantity of fakes to mix in with the real items. The 5 million won expense is too big, and Mr. Song Cheon is worried about the chairman changing his mind or finding out about the fakes. Mr. Song says they won't know unless they try. So Mr. Cheon finishes up some work and gets to making pots. After Uncle Guansuk gets home, he is met with the sight of John Chul and his nephew looking as though they want to fight. They're arguing about the knife incident at the fish restaurant. To get his nephew in line, Guansuk teaches him a lesson. Don't cause trouble at work, and to get to the sea safely, they should keep their promise. If someone pushes him into the sea, he'll be done for. Yang, on the other hand, just goes to the salon to get her hair done. Her husband gets jealous, asking if she's been seeing another man and if that guy at the sea has called. Yang says that John Chul has been calling the chairman, not her. Yang later makes a phone call to ask John Chul and to ask about the situation at sea. It's hard to know exactly what kind of relationship these two have, but it's clear that she cares deeply about him. At dinner, Guansuk tells Hidong to make peace and apologize to everyone, since they shouldn't be making enemies while working together. John Chul asks Hidong if he has any drugs. The two go outside and start talking. John Chul tells Hidong the story behind his gunshot wound. When he was on a deep-sea voyage, the foreign sailors revolted. He shot at the captain and was shot in return. The ship ran into a reef and sank, but John Chul managed to survive wearing a life jacket. John Chul only hopes that this younger brother doesn't stab him in the back. Inside, Mr. Ha tells everyone that a fisherman discovered a spot with a lot of treasure, and they would not be able to make money if it were not for him. Meanwhile, in Seoul, the chairman's wife advises her husband not to buy all of the antiques, since the couple has a lot of other things to put money towards. She will go to meet with Mr. Song to discuss the antiques. Mr. Song and his friend head to the sea to retrieve the fake antiques. They should ask Chairman Cho for 100 million won. Uncle Guansuk and Captain Huang meet with the fisherman to ask where the treasure can be found. The fisherman isn't stupid. He knows that if he tells them, they will get rid of him and he'll no longer be useful. However, he hesitates when he hears about the money and tells Captain Huang to get the boss to give him more money so that he can think about it. However, this spot is not only known to this fisherman. Captain Huang tells Uncle Guansuk to look for Sukbei. After getting home, Guansuk remembers what Captain Huang said and asks his nephew to go to the area and look for Sukbei. The uncle and nephew don't want to go with John Chul and want to go with Dae-sik, but Dae-sik is out with the uncle. Without any other options, Hidong and John Chul go with the captain to meet Sukbei. They ask the housewives on the street, but they only know his name and neighborhood, not the house. They ask the children in the neighborhood, but they are too busy to help. They distract the people so the child's father is not captured. Having grown up in the slums, Hidong quickly catches up with Sukbei. Huang quickly explains that he and John Chul are not there to arrest him. But after half a day of searching, he has to tell them he doesn't know where the treasure spot is. He tells everyone to find the guy in prison and ask him instead. Meanwhile, Guan-suk and Mr. Ha are out buying supplies for the dive, when Mr. Ha suddenly pulls everyone to hide. He points out that a fancy man is an antique dealer and that he's a complete crook. He has been scammed by him before. After coming home, the plan to get the treasure has been postponed, and the only way they can continue is to get that guy in prison. Guan-suk also warns everyone to look out for Professor Kim, since they don't know when they might run into someone like him. Just when they thought they'd finished discussing things, Captain Huang demands some more money. If Uncle Guan-suk gives him 1 million, then he will follow whatever Huang tells him. 1 million is for finding the person to find the boat. Guan-suk asks if they need to find a boat. 2. Captain Huang comes up with all sorts of reasons to get more money, and Guan-suk has no choice but to agree to it. Meanwhile, in Seoul, the chairman's wife cuts to the chase with Mr. Song, saying that they only need to buy a few real pieces and display them at the front, and put the fake pieces at the back, all to fool other people. Mr. Song worries that the fake pieces will make the university lose face. Yang asks him if he brings back 1,000 pieces, will he have to buy all of them? She tells him that the people who visit are children, and only displaying pottery isn't going to cut it, especially Chinese pottery, so they need to display something that is related to Korea in order to bring more value to the students. Mr. Song realizes that the chairman suspects that he is making fake goods. However, Mrs. Yang still offers a budget of 5 million, which is just enough money for Mr. Song. However, this money is still not enough for Mr. Song and his growing greed. He goes to meet the chairman to ask for more money. The chairman tells him that if he brings enough real items that he'll dedicate a whole floor to it. Because he couldn't get any more, Mr. Song went to complain to his friend. His friend tells him that the presidential and National Assembly elections are coming up next year, and some people cannot be bought with money. Therefore, presenting them with pottery would be a good move, especially since some of them are knowledgeable. If they want to maximize profits and power, they need to give the real stuff to the knowledgeable and powerful people and give the fake stuff to Cheon. Meanwhile, Hee-dong is trying to get with the waitress. Since he's from Seoul, Seonja likes to hear about what happens in Seoul and asks him to tell her about fun stuff. As she's having a conversation with him, she gets sent to wash dishes. He then goes to talk with Professor Kim, realizing that this is a member of a gang from Busan. Hee-dong calls Seonja to talk outside, unaware that Professor Kim is watching him. Hee-dong asks Seonja if she wants to go to Seoul with him, and pulls out money and tells her that this is enough to go to Seoul. Seonja is curious and agrees to go with Hee-dong. She asks if that is how people ask each other out in Seoul. It seems like he has barely gotten here, and he has already managed to catch a girl. That night, Mr. Song calls Guan-suk to tell him that Mrs. Cheon has limited the amount of money that the chairman can pay for this. They need to do something to influence the chairman to open up his wallet. Guan-suk tells Mr. Song to just prepare one item for him. Later that night, when Hee-dong gets home, his uncle asks where the other two went. Without the other two, Hee-dong will have to hold the pottery that Mr. Song gave him, go directly to Mr. Cheon's house, and explain with all his sincerity and passion that it is an invaluable item. Now he can only trust his nephew with this job. The next day, Hee-dong immediately goes to meet with Mr. Song to learn the theory behind the origin of the pottery, but can't grasp the lessons. Guan-suk and Captain Huang find the captain's nephew and ask to borrow his boat. The nephew doesn't want to let them borrow it, or at the very least, he will drive the boat and won't let the uncle drive it. Captain Huang is frustrated, but Guan-suk tells him to just give him 50,000. There's no reason to be so loud and dramatic. Huang just calls his nephew over and gives him the money. That night, at the cafe where Seonja works, Professor Kim and the leader thug from before have teamed up. They ask Seonja if the guys from Seoul were here, and then show the gun in his bag as if he is warning her. He gives 1,000 to Seonja and the manager as a thank you for letting him get acquainted with the town. The next day, Hee-dong takes his fake gift to Mr. Cheon's house, remembering that this gift is just for the wife. When he meets the person inside, he tells them that this gift needs to be given directly because it is invaluable. After saying his name and where he's from, the wife lets him go inside to give her the gift. He admits that this house is very big. Meanwhile, at Mokpo Port, Guan-suk asks John Chul about the personality of the chairman's wife. John Chul only knows that she is good with money, and that's why the chairman married her. Hee-dong opens the gift and explains that this is an invaluable gift that he's giving just for his wife. However, this gift is cheap, and the wife isn't fooled. She knows Mr. Song wants to check up on her and smashes the pottery, and makes a subtle threat to Mr. Song. Hee-dong is shocked and leaves the house. As he leaves, he gets a note telling him to meet at a clothing store at 5 p.m. At 5 p.m., Hee-dong shows up at the clothing store as instructed, and the owner leads him to a secret room, and the wife slams the door shut. The wife asks Hee-dong if he is the gift. She wants Hee-dong to hold her and love her like a couple. Hee-dong asks why she broke the pottery. Mrs. Yang replies that she did not want the chairman to be suspicious and that there are too many eyes on her at home. Then the two start to embrace and smoke a cigarette. They start gossiping and begin by heating some alcohol first. Seeing Hee-dong choke, Mrs. Yang quickly wipes his mouth with a cloth. Just like that, the two progress towards a forbidden relationship. He must be one of the luckiest guys who grew up in the slums to be getting so much attention. Meanwhile, the treasure hunting team has finally gotten more people together than they expected. The more people, the smaller the cut. Gwon-suk only has one option, and it is for everyone to split the money evenly. Hwang starts assigning tasks. Suk-bae will bring the net down and put the items inside. There is limited time, so they need to do it fast. When Hwang gets to the docks, the thugs from before block his path, causing Hwang to wonder what they are planning to do. They complain about being kicked out by Hwang for not letting them make money with him and going to follow the people from Seoul instead. After they greet each other, Hwang asks the female diver how long they need to hold their breath if they dive down to the bottom of the sea. At 20 m deep, the female diver says, "If you are down there, you're going to die. Not everyone can dive in this sea." Hwang then leaves. After the meeting with Mrs. Yang, Hee-dong is told by Mrs. Jean to make this boy some pretty clothes and asks the nephew, "Would you like to find a good job later?" All the glory belongs to the man Mrs. Yang is looking at. Hee-dong is trying to ask about the pottery, but she doesn't say anything. Meanwhile, Professor Kim is meeting the prison guard to give him a very good sword. The main reason is to get Bak-gun, the man who knows exactly where to find the ancient treasure. Because of the expensive item, he is allowed to take the prisoner out for half a month. However, Bak-gun does not know that he is involved in a transaction. Professor Kim tells Bak-gun that he needs to listen to him from now on. He asks why he needs to listen to him. Professor Kim threatens Bak-gun that if he does not listen, he's going to destroy his skull. The next day, when Professor Kim and Bak-gun are out buying supplies, Gwon-suk sees Dae-sik and his gang being bullied. Gwon-suk calls to ask why he is with those people. Coincidentally, Hwang sees the scene from before and wonders why Bak-gun is out of prison. Knowing that this has become urgent, they need to all go home and discuss everything. Hee-dong heads straight to Lucky Cafe to find someone. He straight up asks Seonja to eat raw fish with him. All these uncles are getting left out while he is on a date with Seonja. With the little boat, while the money needs to be high while they're loitering at the ocean, Uncle Gwon-suk's boat meets the professor's boat. Will they find the treasure first, or will they fight each other? After the two groups looking for treasure get on the island, Professor Kim asks, "Where did Hwang go?" He replies, the island has his nephew's house, so he is getting some liquor from his stash. Meanwhile, at the dock, Hee-dong is trying to flirt with a girl. Seonja is curious about what Hee-dong does back in Seoul and talks about her interests in fashion and sewing. He grabs the silk scarf from Mrs. Yang and gives it to her, making her very happy since it's very expensive. After the two treasure hunting groups get to Hwang's nephews, Gwon-suk says only the three leaders will enter the storage building to discuss things. If he lets the whole group inside to discuss things with others, giving input, then they will be there all night. Hwang then calls the thugs to discuss things. He feels like he is being betrayed since the thugs are going with Professor Kim. They say that they're only following Professor Kim to make money, since Hwang only follows those Seoul guys to make money and didn't ask them. Hwang still wants them to follow him, but they need more money than Professor Kim to move to his side, making Hwang stressed. He then attempts to entice them, asking those people are going to take all of the treasure and leave you all here. Who is going to take you all home? Where are you going to drink liquor with me? The thug just wants money and doesn't care about the liquor with him. Hwang tells them to get out. The thug replies, Professor Kim is going to give half the pottery at market price. Ha sees them outside and goes to tell Gwon-suk and Professor Kim. Gwon-suk then offers, "Let's play a game. Whoever wins gets to decide when the groups get to work." Kim doesn't need one because he knows the location and can do this only if Gwon-suk lends him divers. The two sides just want each other's people, and one side wants to sell the antiques in Seoul. Then again, Kim wants to sell the antiques to Japan. However, in the end, no one comes to a deal, and the only thought that the two sides have is taking away the benefits of one another. Kim especially hates the attitude and demand for rights from Gwon-suk, and tells the gang to leave. Gwon-suk is annoyed that he couldn't take advantage of Professor Kim and scolds the people below him. "What can you all do without my help?" Jeon-chul wanted to take off his shirt and fight it out. At night, Gwon-suk goes to try and tempt Bak-gun to his side. It is impossible since Kim has his life in his hands. Professor Kim sees that Gwon-suk is trying to come up with schemes using the most vile ways to get people on his side. Since being intimate with Hee-dong, Mrs. Yang thinks about him as though she is lovesick. The next day, Hee-dong passed out drunk after too much alcohol and woke up in Seonja's house. Seonja then states that he promised to take her to Seoul and has her work at a fashion shop. Hee-dong quickly puts on his clothes and asks, "Did we do anything last night?" He is a dirtbag who has a dirtbag mind, but his words do not express it. "Forget all of the things I promised you." He also then asks if Kim has anything suspicious. Seonja, though disgusted, still tells Hee-dong that Kim has a gun. He leaves to find people. He goes to the guest house and is told they all went to the island. The landlady then called Gwon-suk to say that he was going to meet them the night before, but he never found a boat. Ha then says they should watch Professor Kim and his gang. Jeon-chul says if Hee-dong gets here, then they should take them out immediately. Dae-sik then says what if we pretend to cooperate and then they get all of the treasure? Gwon-suk is now thinking and goes to meet with Professor Kim and starts planning how they're going to divide up the treasure. Gwon-suk says that he also has pottery. Now all you can do is split it up and what you all want to do is sell it. Gwon-suk then says to do what you want with the real goods. The two sides will split the pottery in half. Then Kim and Gwon-suk shake hands and promise with no contract. Meanwhile, Cheon meets with a retired assemblyman. The chairman tells the assemblyman that he is planning to open an antique museum. It is a useful way to trade and give gifts to the Americans in the deal. Cheon states that he will prepare the best antiques for the politician to use as a gift. After the two groups meet, they need to figure out how they're going to solve this. Marine police and villagers are watching, so the sides agree on only going out on one boat. Professor Kim's got this question on his mind: how many people can realistically fit on one of these boats? His worry is if you cram too many folks on there won't be enough room for the actual pottery they're trying to salvage. People are getting into this pissing contest, arguing over who gets to send more people, because they think the more hands they have, the more pottery they'll be able to haul up. To figure out the right crew size, Gwon-suk's only option is to sit down with the professor and hammer out a deal. And get this, these guys still don't trust each other. It all goes back to yesterday, when Gwon-suk mentioned he had some stuff that's been marinating in the ocean. Professor Kim's got his doubts, suspicious that Gwon-suk might sneak some fake stuff into the mix. Speaking of untrustworthy characters, Hee-dong, the nephew, has finally decided to show his face. He hears Professor Kim blabbing about trying to woo some girl at a coffee shop and immediately starts patting down his pockets, desperately searching for a gun. Gwon-suk's completely confused, thinking the kids lost it. Hee-dong swore up and down that the professor was packing heat, but Gwon-suk brushed it off as nonsense. Now he's just pissed off because his nephew went off chasing skirts and is now back to business. However, old Gwon-suk isn't taking any chances. He tells Jeon-chul to do a sweep of everyone's gear. If they're going out on that boat, they'd better hand over any sharp objects, no questions asked. Being a seasoned seafarer, he's seen his fair share of things. The rules of the sea are a whole different ballgame than on land, so to ensure everyone's safety, you gotta do as the captain says. On the other side of town, the chairman is getting in on the action. After he meets with the assemblyman, he calls up Mr. Song and asks him if he can get his hands on some top-tier pottery. The real deal. He wants to use it for gifts, but of course, he's willing to pay out of pocket. After making the arrangements with Mr. Song, the chairman spills the beans to his wife. He plans to use this pottery to grease the wheels with some high-ranking officials, and apparently those assemblymen are planning to pass the gifts along to some Americans. The wife raises a valid point, though how much is enough? If they start handing out expensive gifts like this, the higher-ups will just keep demanding more. She suggests keeping the real artifacts up front in the museum and stashing the fakes in the back. That way, they can keep the good stuff for strategic gifting. Meanwhile, our trio of notorious con artists is busy giving the pep talk to their crew. These guys don't have a clue what's really going on, but they nod and clap anyway. All they care about is whether they're going to make some money. Finally, after deciding who cuts the crew, the whole fishing fleet sets sail for the treasure trove, a sunken fortune worth billions of won, lying on the ocean floor. After bobbing around on the ocean for a while, the ex-con shouts, "This is the spot. This is where the pottery's at." The rest of the crew wasted no time throwing out the buoys and anchors, gearing up to hunt for that treasure. Captain Huang takes the plunge, diving down to the seabed to see what's what, but comes up empty-handed. Bak-gun tells him to try searching on the other side, says there's a chance something will turn up over there. Meanwhile, back on dry land, Mr. Song and his buddy hear that Cheon's been meeting with some art dude who's into ancient pottery. So, the two friends decide to team up and see if they can horn in on the chairman's deal. Maybe skim a little off the top, if you catch my drift. After setting up a private dinner with the artist, Kim, Mr. Song doesn't hesitate to present him with a genuine, high-value pottery piece, hoping to impress the guy. But the so-called artist is clueless and thinks it's fake, has no idea about pottery at all. Then, Song's buddy whips out a fake with a bunch of fancy designs on it and claims it's a Qing Dynasty inkstone. The artist looks at it and gushes. Pottery has to have designs like this to be real. Later, Mr. Song pulls his friend aside and asks him why he gave the artist a fake. The friend explains that the artist is a complete idiot. He didn't recognize the real thing because it was plain. By using the fake with the fancy designs, they can easily figure out what his taste is. Now all they have to do is find stuff like that. Back with Captain Huang's diving team, after a long search, he finally finds a pottery vase on the ocean floor. He carefully brings it to the surface, and the whole crew is ecstatic. They pass around their first piece of treasure, and everyone is stoked that they found something. After arguing about who gets to go out to sea and figuring out where the treasure is, the two treasure hunting teams start heading back to port together to pick up more diving gear and the stuff they need. They're going to split the costs and crash at Ha's place, sharing meals and lodgings. Then Guan-suk makes a phone call back home to check on his wife and kids. His wife tells him that the kids' shoes are falling apart. They're sick, and they don't have enough money for textbooks. They're short of even 10,000 won. But here is Guan-suk, buying all this equipment here. He ends the call telling his wife to be frugal with money. Professor Kim figures Guan-suk cares about his family, so he lets him finish his call before making his own. Turns out, the whole phone call thing was just a ploy to distract Professor Kim and let Guan-suk sneak off for something private. So, he calls up Mr. Song to demand more hush money to keep everyone on the boat quiet. Mr. Song tells him he needs pottery with really unique designs, but money is tight. He can't keep handing it out forever. Tired of hearing money, 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 Mr. Song calls the chairman to see if he can squeeze more out of him. But the chairman is hesitant to shell out any more cash. He hasn't even seen the goods yet, and he's already getting requests for more money. He's feeling a little put off. But then Mr. Song tells him they know where to find the pottery and that there are some really valuable pieces down there. This gets the chairman thinking. He tells Song to call him back tomorrow because his wife is in the room right now. Meanwhile, back in Busan, someone bought fake pottery from Professor Kim and is now yelling at the shop owner. She tells him she's just the seller and that he needs to go find Professor Kim himself. They start arguing back and forth, so the guy decides to smash the pottery. He declares he'll stop breaking stuff when Professor Kim shows up. Finally, the shop owner's son gets back, and she tells him to go find Professor Kim. She promises him a boat if he can bring back the con artist safe and sound. You gotta bring that scammer back here, no matter what. While the crew is rigging up the nets to haul the pottery up, Guan-suk gets a call telling him that the chairman's wife is coming to oversee things in person. Time for everyone to start behaving. After picking up the chairman's wife, wouldn't you know it, the antique shop owner's son, the one who got scammed, is also there, looking for Professor Kim. Guan-suk recognizes him as being from Busan, but the guy's giving the chairman's wife's people some serious attitude, so they're about to put him in his place. But this guy isn't intimidated at all. He tells them, "You done talking? 'Cause I'm about to punch you." In the past, this long-haired tough guy was a weakling until he met a teacher who continuously mentored him. He diligently strived to be at the top of his class in martial arts. However, instead of utilizing what he learned from wrestling to compete in tournaments, he used it to collect debts for his boss. Back in the present, as they're squaring off, Hong Ji-ai happens to walk by. The chairman's wife's secretary hands him a business card, saying they're just visiting from a company in Seoul. The guy from Busan says he doesn't have a business card or ID. He's just there to catch a guy from Busan. Hong Ji-ai threatens him, saying if he sees him again, he's going to be chained up at the police station. After taking the chairman's wife to meet the salvage crew, she recognizes a lot of the faces. But the one she's most interested in is Hee-dong. As everyone starts to follow her, the chairman's wife tells Guan-suk and John Chul to enter with her, and she tells Hee-dong to go buy some beer and book 2 rooms for her, not forgetting to include 2 VIP rooms for herself. After seeing the salvaged pottery, the chairman's wife wonders if it's even worth anything. How much can they get for this stuff? Guan-suk tells her that some poachers sold one piece for around 10 million won. They stole over 100 million won worth of stuff. She says she heard about that, but wants to know if some guy from Busan is here. Guan-suk tells her that it's Professor Kim out there. He's a big name in this world, and their reward split with him is 1/2. The chairman's wife orders them to bring the old fox in and tells him to leave. Meanwhile, Hee-dong goes to buy beer for the chairman's wife and runs into the same tough guy from before at the village entrance. He's drunk and rambling on, but Hee-dong just ignores him. After buying the beer, Hee-dong rents a room for the chairman's wife. He needs one that's clean. The landlady says all the rooms are clean, so he can take the 2 rooms in the corner. After Kim comes inside, the chairman's wife bluntly states her opinion. She says she won't be able to get much money from this gig and that anything they pull up here will be hard to sell publicly or at the right price. Professor Kim argues that she doesn't know anything about the antique market, bragging about how much he's sold to Japan and the mansions he's built. Then the chairman's wife drops a bombshell that leaves everyone stunned. She wants to buy all the pottery right there for 100,000 won apiece. No matter if it's real or fake, everyone's speechless. She says she has her own sales channels. For example, if they pull up 1,000 pieces, they'd each get 30 million won. All she needs is for a small number of them to be the real deal, because she can get 30 million won back just from one real piece. She would gift them an extra 20% to 30% for helping her to pretend and pass off the fakes they add into the pottery that they VOT up from the sea as the real deals when she sells those fakes, because she has very large sources of distribution. Gwon-suk thinks it sounds pretty good, but hauling up 1,000 pieces is going to be tough. They have 2 boats, but only one can go out to sea. The problem is that the Coast Guard will get suspicious if they send both boats out. So, first, they're going to have to bribe the Coast Guard. The only person who can make that happen is Captain Huang. Gwon-suk calls Captain Huang in to ask if he can make a connection. He says that his younger Coast Guard buddy, Hong Ji-ai, will come running if he just calls him. All I have to do is call Hong Ji-ai, and he'll come running without thinking. So that night, while Hee-dong is booking the hotel room for the chairman's wife, Hong Ji-ai comes in and thinks this crowd looks pretty low class. But when he gets upstairs, he asks Beol-gu where he brought him. Beol-gu tells him to relax and sit down. Let's have a drink. No need to rush. It's not your problem anymore. So Beol-gu goes downstairs for a while to kill time. Seeing the Seoul guys enjoying their noodles, Hong Ji-ai asks Hee-dong if he likes black bean noodles. Then, he grabs the vinegar bottle and pours it all over Hee-dong's noodles. Dae-sik, who's sitting next to Hee-dong, can't take it anymore. He might not be the strongest, but he's loyal to his friends. Hee-dong has hated this guy from Mokpo Harbor for a long time, so he stands up and punches him, catching him completely off guard. He's strong, but he's going up against Hee-dong. Jeon-chul has to step in to stop Hee-dong before the Mokpo guy's face is completely ruined. The chairman's wife's people find the whole thing pretty entertaining. As fate would have it, that beefy guy from Busan also shows up at the area where Hee-dong rented the rooms for the chairman's wife. He's completely drunk and asks the landlady if she has any liquor, but she doesn't. So he just stumbles inside, cursing, and passes out. Meanwhile, the chairman's wife is putting stacks of cash on the table, telling Hong Ji-ai to tell her when it's enough. He asks what's going on here. Gwon-suk bluntly tells him that everyone here wants to go out to sea and salvage stuff from the ocean floor. They just want 2 things: to distract the Coast Guard and to have them turn a blind eye while they're down there salvaging. After thinking about it, Hong Ji-ai says dealing with the guards isn't a problem. But if these guys get caught, he'll use the money the chairman's wife put on the table as evidence of police bribery and a conspiracy to steal artifacts. After saying this, he demands another stack of money from the chairman's wife. She gleefully agrees, saying if he does a good job, he'll get 2 more stacks, equaling 2 million won. After taking the chairman's wife to her room, the security team is unimpressed. The place is a dump. But the chairman's wife is tired and doesn't want to argue. She tells them to go home and that she can take care of herself. Back at home, Gwon-suk asks Hee-dong if he warmed the bed or bought warm bedding for the chairman's wife. Jeon-chul is suspicious about what Hee-dong did when he went to Seoul. Realizing something, Jeon-chul angrily kicks an oil drum, but Gwon-suk doesn't care and tells Hee-dong to go buy breakfast for the chairman's wife to butter her up. When Jeon-chul goes back to the chairman's wife's room, the knock on the door accidentally wakes up the tough guy from yesterday, who starts muttering. Not wanting to disturb the chairman's wife, Jeon-chul chooses to ignore him. The tough guy is about to go to the bathroom when he runs into the woman from earlier that day. He starts insulting her, calling her a slutty, arrogant woman. Feeling bored, the chairman's wife goes out to find a coffee shop. She runs into Hee-dong and gets curious, so she follows him. She sees Hee-dong going into a coffee shop to buy coffee for her, but the barista tells him he's here to see Seonja, not her. Seonja greets him warmly, saying she's been telling her friend about Hee-dong. Hee-dong's curious what's going on. Is it something so secret? Or is it that the night Hee-dong got drunk and slept with Seonja? She confessed she hadn't had her period in a while and that she might be pregnant. The chairman's wife is shocked, as if she's the one who's been cheated on, because she had such high hopes for this nephew of hers. After Hee-dong buys the stuff for the chairman's wife, he runs into Pillman at the restaurant. Pillman starts bad-mouthing the chairman's wife, saying she's a cougar who's been flirting with young guys. The chairman's wife's bodyguards can't take Pillman's trash talk anymore and kick him, sending him sprawling. The loud noise startles the landlady, who rushes to call the police. But the 2 bodyguards can't beat Pillman because he's too strong. Even after getting hit in the head with a rock, he still has the strength to fight back. Hee-dong can't take it anymore and joins the fray. The result is that all 3 of them get their butts kicked. Only when the police arrive does the fighting stop. Even though he's going to the police station, Pillman is still wondering if these people know an old man from Busan. Seeing Hong Ji-ai's eyes flick towards Gwon-suk, he realizes he's in the right place. He even kindly warns Gwon-suk that if the old man stabs him, he should remember this thug. Hee-dong, for his part, catches hell from his uncle because of his behavior with girls in that port. I told you to come here to work, not to drink and chase girls, you idiot. Professor Kim hears the commotion and comes to see what's going on. Gwon-suk asks him if the old man in Busan did anything to make people chase after him. When asked about the situation, Gwon-suk just glances at him and walks away. After renegotiating the deal with the treasure hunting team, the chairman's wife generously gives them an extra 5 million won for expenses, telling Gwon-suk to just do what she tells him to do. Before leaving, Gwon-suk gives the chairman's wife the pottery vase they found in the sea the day before. To find out if his nephew really does have a secret baby, Gwon-suk goes to Seonja's coffee shop to talk to her. Pretending to talk about Hee-dong, Seonja doesn't think twice and follows Gwon-suk. Then, he says his stomach is hurting and quickly drags Seonja to the hospital. His real reason for being there isn't to get his stomach checked. He made an appointment with a doctor beforehand to find out if Seonja is really pregnant. After some time, the doctor tells him that she's not pregnant and hasn't even had sex. Now that the secret's out, Gwon-suk asks Seonja why she told Hee-dong she was pregnant. She says she just wanted to live in Seoul for once, because she's bored with living in the port her whole life. The uncle tells her to cut the dramatics and take the money to buy some clothes. I'm so tired of these people. Afterward, the chairman's wife goes to her sister's fashion store and asks the owner if she has a few 10 million won available, because she wants to invest in some business venture. She doesn't have a few tens of millions of won, but she does have 10 million won. The chairman's wife immediately takes the money and goes to meet with Mr. Song to offer to supply her with some fake pottery, saying that all she wants is the merchandise and his crew in Sinan for her to manage. These two still want the pottery to pass through their hands to be worth something, but the chairman's wife does not require it. She's got all the appraisers she needs. Since the treasure hunting team was given an additional few million won from the chairman's wife, they finally have enough money to buy a big ship and the gear they need to go out to sea. They could never have done anything with those two tiny boats they had before. When they get to the spot where they dropped the buoy last time, the ex-con, Bakgun, starts dropping anchor. The guys start deciding who will go down to dive. The captain's nephew begins to show everyone how to wear the old diving helmet. The button inside will slowly release air and drop them down, while letting go makes them float back up. But no one wants to go down. Beol-gu is the first to go under. After attaching the oxygen hose and getting geared up, Beol-gu starts diving down, but he can't find anything nearby. Suddenly, something happens that makes Beol-gu freeze. He can't move and he just stands there. The captain's nephew dives down and sees that something's wrong with Beol-gu. Standing in front of him, he sees that he's been unconscious the whole time. Everyone on the boat is seasick. Hee-dong notices something wrong with the air hose, so they start to pull it up. When Beol-gu surfaces, everyone tries to pull him up. When they open the helmet, they see that his eyes are rolled back in his head. Gwon-suk is all about getting back to work, pushing everyone to dive. But nobody wants to go back in the water after seeing what happened to Beol-gu. One of the divers pops up, holding a piece of pottery. Everyone's hyped again. He says there's more down there, but the current's too strong and he can't do it all alone. Gwon-suk is stressed because he's got mouths to feed, and this isn't cheap. But right now, they're stuck. They head back to figure out a plan. Back on shore, Beol-gu is totally out of it. Two of the guys have to carry him. Tae-san, who seems to know his stuff, says Beol-gu's got diver's disease. Air bubbles in his lungs. He doesn't think he'll last long. The captain makes seaweed soup. Beol-gu manages to drink a bit and get some strength back. Gwon-suk jumps at the chance to ask what happened down there. Beol-gu says he couldn't breathe. The air in his suit was gone, and then he passed out. Tae-san thinks it's a problem with the air hose. They check it and find holes. Turns out the old equipment isn't reliable. The captain wants to patch it, but Gwon-suk's like, nah, let's just buy a new one. Even though the first day was a bust, Gwon-suk takes care of his crew. They have a feast with chicken and drinks. Everyone's singing and having a good time, except poor Beol-gu, who's just lying in bed, too weak to even move. Later, Tae-san asks a question. If they make money, what do they want to do with it? Some want to buy houses, others want boats. Dae-sik, totally drunk, pees on the table. Then, Tae-san pulls Hee-dong aside and drops a bomb. He confesses to his relationship with the chairman's wife. Hee-dong's freaking out because things are about to get messy. See, Tae-san disappeared for 12 years. The chairman's wife couldn't find him, so she married Chairman Cheon. When Tae-san finally found her, she told him to just be patient because Chairman Cheon is old and won't live much longer. Then all the money will be theirs. Tae-san agreed to go along with it. Talk about a complicated love life. The next day, the weather's bad, so they can't go out. And Dae-sik's gout is acting up from all the drinking. His foot's all swollen. Tae-san says he's getting short of breath just thinking about diving, so he can't go either. That's when the antique dealer shows up. He's been kicked out of the deal by the chairman's wife, and he's furious. He wants to know whose side Gwon-suk is on. Gwon-suk doesn't say it outright, but it's clear he's going with whoever pays more. Right now, the chairman's wife is offering a better deal and is more decisive, so he's with her. But since the antique dealer brought him in, Gwon-suk tells him to bring all the fake stuff he's got. They'll mix it with the real stuff and sell it to Chairman Cheon. Then, the antique dealer hands Guansuk 5 million won. This is the money Chairman Cheon is paying to get rid of Tae-san. The antique dealer is heartbroken seeing Dae-sik's swollen foot because they're as close as father and son. But then, looking at Beol-gu, who's barely alive, the antique dealer suggests throwing him overboard. He says he's not going to last long anyway, and if he dies there, it'll cause even more trouble. Guansuk and the captain go to town to buy an air hose. Guansuk asks the captain a question. If someone gets hurt on the boat, how does the captain handle it? The captain says, of course, I'd call the police. Guansuk sighs, clearly not the answer he wanted. But the captain keeps going, but if things look bad, we'd get rid of the evidence too. An idea sparks in Guansuk's head. He asks the captain to help him take care of Tae-san. The captain immediately shakes his head. We're good brothers. We've shared drinks. But Guansuk promises him 1 million won for the job. The captain's eyes light up, and he quickly agrees, even suggesting they do it while Tae-san's underwater. In the afternoon, the waves have calmed down. Everyone's packing up to head out to sea again. Guansuk tells Tae-san to put on his diving gear and be in charge of searching the seabed. But Hee-dong starts arguing, wanting to dive instead. Guansuk's getting annoyed, not sure what to do. Someone else steps in to smooth things over and volunteers to put on the diving suit. Guansuk, still irritated, goes to find the captain in the wheelhouse. He asks about Beol-gu's condition. The captain says Beol-gu's lungs are full of air bubbles, and he's basically a goner. Guansuk orders the captain to just get rid of Beol-gu to avoid any future problems. Things have gone too far now. There's no turning back. The captain reluctantly agrees, saying he'll dump Beol-gu somewhere nobody will find him. Unbeknownst to them, Beol-gu's buddy, who's been coiling ropes, overheard everything. This time, the salvage goes incredibly well. They pulled up almost 30 pieces of pottery. The gloom from before is gone, and everyone's practically seeing dollar signs. Meanwhile, the chairman's wife, through an introduction, has taken the first piece of pottery they found to a US military base to be auctioned off. And guess what? It sells for $5,000. That's around 2.4 million. She realizes she might have hit the jackpot and found a real treasure. Back home, the chairman's wife doesn't tell Chairman Cheon about the auction. Instead, she lies and says the pottery needs to be desalinated and the antique dealer is taking care of it. Chairman Cheon hasn't been feeling well, so the chairman's wife takes him to the hospital for a checkup. The results show his blood pressure is high and he has some heart problems. The chairman's wife asks if he can go abroad to rest, but the doctor says Chairman Cheon can't fly because it could trigger a heart attack. As they're leaving, the doctor specifically tells the chairman's wife not to let Chairman Cheon overwork and, most importantly, to keep him away from alcohol. The chairman's wife looks all worried, like she's so concerned for Chairman Cheon's health, but inside she's celebrating. The very next day, she calls all the top executives of the company and invites them to a party at her house. It's a big bash, and the chairman's wife even has pretty girls assigned to entertain the guests. There's even one next to Chairman Cheon. When the party starts, the chairman's wife makes sure everyone knows that Chairman Cheon is not to have any alcohol. And Chairman Cheon actually listens, obediently putting down his glass and toasting his subordinates with tea instead. As the party goes on, the atmosphere gets wild, and people are singing and dancing. Then, the chairman's wife walks into the room and thanks everyone for coming. She then introduces a special guest for the evening, a popular singer. Chairman Cheon is a huge fan. Hearing him sing war songs brings back a flood of memories. He remembers his parents, and tears start streaming down his face. He can't control his emotions anymore, so he raises his glass and takes a drink. And once he starts, he can't stop until he passes out cold. Watching Chairman Cheon dance with one of the girls, the chairman's wife has a smug and seductive smile on her face. Now, let's switch to the storyline of the girl at the bar. Ever since Hee-dong promised to take her to Seoul, she's been daydreaming about a better life in the future. Nobody really knows why she wants to go to Seoul so badly, but she does. Maybe the bar girl just wanted to get out of there, and Hee-dong was the only one she thought could help her. While the bar owner is away, she decides to go to the island to find Hee-dong. But it's too late, there are no more ferries. A boat driver says he can take her for free. Naive, she gets on his boat. But halfway there, the boat driver starts getting handsy. She says no and jumps straight into the sea. The boat driver freaks out and pulls her back in. He gives up his nasty intentions. After all, they live in the same area. He'll see her again. Back with Guansuk's crew. The pottery they're pulling up is high quality and should sell for big bucks. The antique dealer gets another idea. He says he can sell all the pottery himself. If Guansuk is on his side, he'll split the profit 50/50. Guansuk thinks it over and agrees, demanding 30 million won in advance as a deposit. Because who knows how much more pottery they'll find. It's best to have the money in hand. The captain gets Hee-dong to help him get Beol-gu onto the boat, saying they're taking him to see a doctor. Near the docks, the captain stops the boat and tells Hee-dong to go home and rest, and he'll take care of the rest. When Hee-dong hears they're gonna throw Beol-gu into the sea, he says no way. Even though he and Beol-gu have had their fights, he's not a bad guy. He can't do something so heartless. So he stands in front of Beol-gu. In his dying breaths, Beol-gu hears their conversation. Suddenly, he's got a burst of energy, gets up, and stumbles away. Hee-dong chases after him. Beol-gu runs to the beach, falling and getting back up. Finally, he runs straight into the ocean. Hee-dong tries to pull him back, but Beol-gu suddenly gets super strong, grabs Hee-dong's hair, and shoves his head underwater. Just then, someone appears on the shore. It's the bar girl who just arrived on the island. She hears Hee-dong's voice and runs over, picks up a rock, and smashes it into Beol-gu's head. Then, she helps Hee-dong get out of the water. The captain holds Beol-gu's head underwater until he stops struggling completely. And all of this is witnessed by Beol-gu's buddy, who's standing on the shore. Hee-dong finds a room for the girl to rest, then asks why she came. The girl says she came to apologize. Nothing happened between them that night. The next day, Hee-dong is getting ready to take the girl back. He finally learns her story. The girl lives with her grandmother. She had to work in a place like that bar because her grandmother was sick. The bar owner paid for the medical bills, so she had to stay and work off the debt. After her grandmother passed away, she wanted to escape. She tried to run away a few times, but she always got caught. The bar owner shaved her head as punishment. So why did she hit Beol-gu with the rock? Because every time she ran away, it was Beol-gu who caught her and brought her back. That's why she hated him so much. Hearing the girl's tragic story, Hee-dong feels terrible. So he tells her to stay here. When the salvage job is done, he'll take her to Seoul with him. Gwon-suk's getting frustrated with the slow progress. Now that one man is gone, Tae-san has a sudden high fever. And Dae-sik, whose foot is clearly better, is still lying in bed pretending to be dead. After Gwon-suk calls him out, he's forced to put on a diving suit. But surprisingly, Dae-sik is actually good at the underwater search. He can work for hours, and the pottery they're pulling up is way more than before. While they're working, the boat driver who brought the bar girl to the island goes to tell the bar owner. The bar owner shows up and forces the girl to go back with her. After the day's salvage work is done, everyone gets super drunk. One of Beol-gu's buddies tries to get revenge on the captain. In the middle of the night, he tries to strangle him, but another buddy stops him. Turns out these thugs have a code. He even tells the captain not to steal Beol-gu's share of the money and to give it to his parents. Back with the chairman's wife. Chairman Cheon, after drinking too much, has fallen into a coma, and his blood pressure is dangerously high. Now he has to stay in bed and rest for a while. The chairman's wife immediately puts on a masterclass in acting right in front of the doctor. She cries and says she shouldn't have thrown a party, and she definitely shouldn't have invited the singer, which made Chairman Cheon so emotional that he drank too much. The chairman's wife's next plan is to get rid of Chairman Cheon's loyalists. Most of these people are from his ex-wife's side. They're all parasites using their connections to embezzle and steal money from the company. The chairman's wife calls the police and forces them to leave the company, or they'll be investigated. Back home, the chairman's wife opens the safe. It's full of savings account books, but to withdraw the money, she needs Chairman Cheon's seal. The chairman's wife goes to his bedside and asks where the seal is. Chairman Cheon's finger twitches, but it's unclear if he heard her or not. Meanwhile, there's still one person locked up in jail, Deok-san, the guy who came to get Professor Kim. He got Hong Ji-ai to send a message home. His mom is worried sick about her son and goes to find Deok-san's old wrestling coach, asking him to gather some people to rescue her son. This coach hasn't been teaching wrestling for a while. He just leads some students around collecting protection money on the streets. Hearing that Deok-san is in trouble, he immediately calls everyone up. But only 2 guys show up, and both of them are injured. Another day begins, and the salvage work continues. This time, Hee-dong is in charge of searching underwater. Soon after he dives down, a big storm suddenly hits, and the boat is tossed around violently. Underwater, Hee-dong is disoriented by a huge wave. When he gets his bearings, a massive shipwreck suddenly appears right in front of him. Hee-dong reports the location he found to everyone on the boat. Thanks to him, the salvage work is a lot easier for the whole group. They go straight inside the shipwreck, pulling up pottery one piece at a time. Meanwhile, back in Busan, the old lady who owns the antique shop that Dr. Kim scammed sees that her son still hasn't returned, so she hires another group of gangsters to rescue him. They quickly find the police station. Using the boss's connection with the local police chief, they fish her son out of jail. After that, they get ready to go find Dr. Kim, who's out at sea salvaging artifacts. Back with the group at sea, they've collected a huge haul. Gwon-suk tells the others to take the pottery back first, and Jeon-chul stays behind to do one more dive. But as soon as the others leave, Gwon-suk and the captain stop pumping air down to the diving suit underwater. They want to let Jeon-chul suffocate at the bottom of the sea. But Jonchul is surprisingly resilient. He grabs onto the air hose and manages to climb up to the boat on his own strength. Gwansuk freaks out and grabs a hammer, then starts hitting him over and over. Unfortunately for him, the noise wakes up Heedong, who's resting nearby. Seeing them trying to kill again, Heedong risks his life to stop them, but he can't save Jonchul. He can only watch as Gwansuk hits Jonchul with the hammer and kicks him into the sea, where he drowns from lack of oxygen. Just then, another boat shows up. The people on that boat are the group from Busan who came to find Dr. Kim. Gwansuk doesn't know what they want, so he lies to get out of the situation. Even though Heedong's conscience is eating him up, he pretends like nothing happened in front of the strangers. Meanwhile, Young-suk is desperately searching for the company seal. She goes to the bank to open the safe deposit box that the chairman left behind, thinking there would be important documents or the seal inside. But all there is a pile of old photos and a handwritten letter. In the letter, the chairman wrote that he feels unbearably lonely without his late wife, and the emptiness in his heart is growing. This makes Young-suk furious. After the boat docks, Heedong warns Gwansuk, "Don't think this is over. Jonchul isn't like that thug. His death can't be easily covered up, because he has another identity that no one knows. He and Young-suk were actually married." Gwansuk is freaked out, feeling like something bad is about to happen. He quickly calls Young-suk, making up a heartfelt story about how Jonchul's air hose got caught in the boat's propeller while diving, causing his death, and his body was swept away by the current, making it impossible to find. Of course, Young-suk doesn't believe this blatant lie, and Dr. Kim has been found and captured by the group from Busan. Gwansuk is only worried that Dr. Kim knows too much about their business. Heedong returns to the island and goes to find Seonja, but she's not at the cafe. The bar owner bluntly says she's not running a charity. Heedong angrily asks how much money she wants to let Seonja go. She demands 1 million won. Heedong disagrees with Gwansuk's increasingly outrageous actions. But now, to save Seonja, he has to suck it up. He goes back to the salvage crew. The others are suspicious about why Jonchul died so suddenly. Heedong has to bite the bullet and lie to protect his uncle. He even suggests hiring a large ship to suck up all the mud and dirt, then hiring local villagers to bring up the entire treasure. He argues that they can't hide the salvage from the locals anyway, so they might as well hire more people to speed things up and get it over with. Gwansuk doesn't understand why his nephew is suddenly so enthusiastic. Heedong just says to do it and give him 10 million won when it's done. On the other side, Young-suk doesn't believe Jonchul died so easily. She thinks it must be related to the chairman, so she asks the police officer she often bribes to investigate. The police officer discovers that the chairman had already investigated Jonchul before. Young-suk doesn't understand why he'd investigate someone who supposedly died at sea and went abroad years ago, and what he could even find out. The police officer reveals a shocking truth. Jonchul never left the country. After the accident, he stayed in Busan, even got married, and had children. At this point, Young-suk realizes she's been lied to by Jonchul all this time. Immediately, her desire to avenge him fades away. All the men in this world are no good. Just then, a councilman comes to see Young-suk and asks if she knows that the chairman has another secret safe where he keeps his personal money. They used to do that all the time. Now that the chairman is sick, could the wife help him hide some money? That's when Young-suk realizes her husband has other secret safes. What shocks her even more is that the councilman says all the safes use the same key, and he's opened one of them before. Hearing this, Young-suk's heart starts racing. At the same time, the thug's body has been found. He's a local, he has parents and relatives. His mother is related to the police officer that Young-suk has been bribing. This police officer has been turning a blind eye to Gwansuk's salvage operation because he's been taking money from the wife, and he's a close friend of the captain. But now, being confronted and scolded by his own family, he feels terrible. On Gwansuk's side, thanks to the large mud-sucking ship, the salvage work is progressing much faster. In just one day, they've collected as much pottery as they did in the entire previous week. Meanwhile, Seonja is refusing to give in to the brothel owner and has been starving herself in her room. She even finds a chance to cut her wrists and attempt suicide. The brothel owner really can't take it anymore and calls the cafe owner. She's just running a prostitution business. She doesn't want to be involved in a murder. Heedong is also very worried about Seonja's condition. He wants Gwansuk to sell some of the pottery to Young-suk so he can get the money back, because he desperately needs money. But Gwansuk thinks a kid like him doesn't need that much money, so he dismisses his suggestion. The chairman's situation isn't looking good. The doctor says that at this rate, he won't make it through the next few days. The key is the next 3 weeks. If the chairman doesn't make it, will the wife take over the company? The wife modestly replies that if she does a good job, she might. The director then starts hinting, saying that the university that the chairman built should probably have a medical department. Young-suk understands immediately and replies, How can a university be called a university without a medical department? She's basically promised the director a huge payoff. The police chief is unhappy after being scolded by his family. He goes to the island to find Gwansuk to ask about what happened. Seeing Gwansuk being evasive, he knows something shady is going on and decides to arrest everyone. Immediately, Hee-dong suddenly swings a stick from behind and knocks the police officer unconscious. On Young-suk's side, she thought that having the seal would allow her to take over the company easily and had already imagined her happy future. But then loan sharks show up at her door. That's when she realizes that the company's finances are rotten from the inside out. Debt is piled upon debt, and it's just barely holding on. If the loan sharks force her to pay all the debt, the company will go bankrupt immediately. Young-suk asks if she can do what the chairman used to do, ask them for an extension. But the secretary whispers to her that the reason the chairman could get an extension was because he had to go drinking and even go out with them for entertainment. If Young-suk wants to do the same, she'll have to go out drinking and sleep with those loan sharks. Young-suk is shocked. Just then, she feels a dull ache in her stomach and goes to the hospital for a checkup. Surprisingly, the results show that she's pregnant. This child definitely can't be from that old, dying husband. It can only be from Jeonchul or Hee-dong. But considering the timeline, it's more likely to be from the young and healthy Hee-dong. Young-suk is a mess inside but has to stay calm. She immediately finds the director and demands a change in the treatment plan. Before, they wanted the chairman to die quickly, but now they have to keep him alive, preferably in a coma but not dead. Unexpectedly, as soon as the director changes the medication, the chairman wakes up. Seeing the chairman eating, living a normal life and going back to the company, Young-suk knows she's in big trouble. As for Gwansuk, he's hired the local villagers to salvage the pottery. But because the labor costs increased and he didn't receive more money, he doesn't pay the villagers in cash, saying that he'll pay them all at once when the job is done. This makes the villagers very dissatisfied, and they go on strike. To make matters worse, the police chief wakes up and demands that they release him. He also gives them bad news. Next week, the official government salvage team will arrive. The chairman is still always thinking about his late wife, even promoting her relatives to senior management positions. But Young-suk fired all these people. As expected, as soon as the chairman returns to the company, the managers run to him to complain and tell him about their grievances. Young-suk thought she was done for, but the chairman got angry and scolded the managers. But when the others have left the office and it's just the two of them, he doesn't give her a good look. He not only asks if she took the seal, but also demands to know if she withdrew his secret money. Young-suk is so scared that she stutters. She says she's hidden the money carefully, but the chairman doesn't listen to her explanation. Feeling cornered, that night, Young-suk puts a medicine that can worsen the chairman's condition into his water and gives it to him to drink. On the other side, Gwansuk is desperately trying to find a way to make money to pay the villagers. He goes back to Seoul and calls Young-suk, hoping she'll pay him some money. But the wife says that things are complicated on her side right now, and the artifact business will have to be put on hold for now, and they can discuss it specifically tomorrow. After Gwansuk hangs up, Hee-dong calls Young-suk and asks to meet in private. After they meet, he gets straight to the point. Seeing his desperate face, Young-suk knows he's really in trouble. Although she's a little disappointed, she turns away and takes out 1 million won and gives it to Hee-dong. This amount of money is just small change to her. After all, Hee-dong may be the father of the child in her womb. She can't help but hug him from behind, but her weakness only lasts for a moment. Hee-dong doesn't care about Young-suk's weakness. The only thing on his mind is taking the money to save Seonja. Unexpectedly, Dr. Kim has promised to use this pottery to make a big profit, so he leads the Busan gangsters back. Dr. Kim and the Busan thugs arrive with a fierce attitude. The people who are present aren't willing to sit still and take it. At a crucial moment, the son of the antique shop owner suddenly stands up. He claims to be a professional boxer, but the antique shop owner knows her son isn't that good. She wants to advise her son not to be the leader, but he insists on competing with the opponent and asks the opponent to come to the stage one by one. The first one on the stage is the skinniest and weakest of the thugs. The two people are similar in height and weight. The son of the antique shop owner, thanks to his agile movements and professional technique, easily defeats the thug. Everyone around cheered. But the next person on stage is the biggest of the gangsters. No matter how many moves he throws, in the face of absolute strength and weight, all sophisticated techniques are just fancy movements. He punches the opponent many times without any effect, while the opponent only needs to punch back once to knock him to the ground. Then, the local villager who led the way pulled out the gun that Dr. Kim had left behind, threatening them to leave. But Dr. Kim isn't afraid at all, because he knows there's only one bullet left in the gun. Meanwhile, he's leading a whole group of people. No matter who this bullet kills, the remaining people won't let the local villager go. Sure enough, the local villager hesitated when he heard this, and didn't dare to pull the trigger. At that moment, the biggest guy rushed up, snatched the gun, twisted his arm, and interrogated him about where the salvaged pottery was hidden. Seeing that the situation wasn't good, the antique shop owner revealed that they had hidden all the artifacts at the port. Dr. Kim demands that they lead the way. Gwon-suk, completely unaware that his whole operation is about to be upended, goes home and gives a very small portion of the money he's earned to his wife. His wife is so touched that she starts to cry. After Dr. Kim captures the antique shop owner's group and leaves, the remaining people are tied up. The antique shop owner's son unties himself, runs outside, and calls the police. The police chief has put up with so much just to get a share of the profits from this artifact trading scheme. Hearing that everything has been stolen by Dr. Kim, he's furious and immediately grabs his gun and rushes out. Meanwhile, the antique shop owner has led Kim's group to a large truck at the port. All the artifacts are on it, but the truck is broken and can't start. This can't stop Dr. Kim. He commandeers the captain's boat, loads the boat full of artifacts, and prepares to go by sea to Busan. After they leave, the antique shop owner and the others, who had been gloomy, suddenly smile smugly. It turns out that this batch of artifacts is actually fake goods that the antique shop owner had deliberately prepared to sell to Young-suk. Unexpectedly, they were able to use them in a time of crisis. But Young-suk's situation isn't much better. Because the company is heavily in debt, she has to go and ask who the loan shark is. She hears that it's an old lady who lives in a big building. She immediately brings people there, intending to give gifts and say sweet words to ask her to extend the debt. But the old loan shark says that she's heard the bank is about to withdraw its investment. Young-suk tries to act like nothing is wrong, but she looks very pathetic. She leaves the old lady's house and goes to the meeting point to discuss business with Gwon-suk. She tells him all her troubles. The company is heavily in debt, her husband is in a coma, and the artifact business is about to fail. Unless Gwon-suk can help her wipe out the heavy debt, she won't agree to share the artifact profits with him. Gwon-suk immediately grabs a can of gasoline and goes to find the old loan shark, saying that he was sent by the chairman to check the books. He asks the old lady to hand over all the debt papers and books, but the old lady says that the chairman has no reason to do that. Hearing this, Gwon-suk knows he can't trick the old lady, so he pours gasoline on the floor, threatening to burn the place down to force her to hand over the books. But the old lady isn't easily intimidated. She immediately calls Young-suk, telling her to come and pick up the goods. When Young-suk arrives, she reveals the truth. It turns out that she's the younger sister of the chairman's late wife. Back in the day, when the chairman married a new wife, she moved out of the house. But the chairman didn't abandon her. He gave her control over the shady loan sharking operations. In other words, their company has never been in debt. It's just a game of moving money from one pocket to the other. The chairman's sister-in-law gleefully reminds Young-suk not to forget that even though she and the chairman are married in name, they are not legally married at all. Even if the chairman dies, the company will not belong to her. All of Young-suk's spirit collapses in the face of this cruel truth. She staggers out of the loan shark's den. Now, she doesn't know how many trump cards the chairman is hiding. The company is just an empty shell, and it seems she doesn't have a single card left in her hand. Just then, reminded by Gwon-suk, she looks down and discovers that her legs are covered in blood. At the hospital, the doctor sadly informs her that, probably because of her age, she couldn't keep the baby, and she's had a miscarriage. On the other side, the police chief has gone crazy for the artifacts. He uses his relationship with the coastal patrol team and dispatches a coastal police boat to chase after the group from Busan. When the Busan group opens the boxes, they discover that everything is just fake antiques. While they're arguing loudly, the coastal police boat catches up. As the people try to run away, the boat gets caught in the ropes of a fish farm, causing the engine to catch fire. In this situation, the coastal police boat shouldn't get any closer, but the police officer has completely lost his mind. He even points a gun at his colleagues, forcing them to get closer, and orders the people on the boat to throw all the artifacts over. Unexpectedly, the boat explodes again, and even the police officer is caught on fire. Some of the Busan people on the boat are dead, and some are injured. Only Dr. Kim quickly jumps into the sea to save his life and is not injured. Hee-dong is truly a man in love. After getting the money, he immediately returns to the island, throws the money at the cafe owner. Then, he hires a large truck, takes his girlfriend Seonja to the warehouse, and prepares to move all the artifacts away. Gwon-suk is busy running around, and when he returns to the warehouse, he discovers that all the artifacts have disappeared without a trace. He suddenly remembers that before they parted, his nephew specifically asked him to send his regards to his aunt. It's not like they won't meet again. Why would he say such things? That kid must have had ulterior motives from the beginning. Gwon-suk hurriedly returns to his place and discovers that it has been searched by the police. The news of their salvaging the artifacts has been reported. All the people involved, except for him, Dr. Kim, the antique shop owner, and her son, the local inn owner, the captain who ran away quickly, the hired villagers, and other henchmen, have all been arrested and taken to the police station. Seeing that the situation is not good, Gwansuk has to dare to call Youngsuk to report the bad news. During the time he wasn't on the island, he only vaguely knew about the things that had happened. All Gwansuk can tell Youngsuk is that when they were transporting the artifacts out to sea, the boat caught fire and the artifacts sank to the bottom of the ocean. Youngsuk is already in a bad mood, confined after her miscarriage, and this news makes her even more furious. She prepares to take money straight to the island to see if there's any way to recover the pottery. But as soon as she leaves the house, she's stopped by the police. The police are there to arrest the chairman on charges of money laundering, tax evasion, and being sued by 10 former employees for wrongful termination. Youngsuk tries to appear calm, saying she's just a friend of the chairman, and quickly leaves with her bag. As soon as she leaves, the police officers that the chairman has bribed also arrive. But seeing that the police from headquarters are already preparing to arrest the chairman, these people have to temporarily leave. Even so, according to the principle of if you take the money, you have to do the job, they conveniently arrest the medical director who is practicing medicine illegally. Turns out that after waking up, the chairman realized his health was getting worse. He began to suspect the medicine that the doctor prescribed him, so he secretly asked his trusted police officer to investigate. After investigating, the police discovered that the medicine really did have problems. The antique shop owner, the local inn owner, and the captain now have no choice but to call the chairman's side. The news of the chairman's downfall is like the sky is falling for them. Having no choice, the three of them go to the warehouse to move the artifacts, but the warehouse is empty. They thought it was Gwansuk who did it, but there were still some artifacts left at the scene that weren't as lower quality. The three of them intend to salvage what they can and take the remaining items away. While they're packing, Dr. Kim, from who knows where, tracks them down to the warehouse and threatens them with a gun. At first, the inn owner bets that he wouldn't dare to shoot, but Dr. Kim doesn't hesitate to pull the trigger. Then, the captain bets that he only has one bullet left in the gun, but Dr. Kim has actually changed the magazine, so he shoots again. The antique shop owner uses clever words to try to cooperate with Dr. Kim. Of course, she also receives a bullet. After killing the three people, Dr. Kim immediately leaves with the artifacts, but on the way, he runs into the gangsters who received the news from the captain. Dr. Kim runs out of bullets in the gun, but there's still one person left. Even the captain tries to hold on to his last breath to hold him back. It seems like he's going to have a hard time escaping this time. As for Gwansuk, after thinking it over, he decides to go to the chairman's company to try his luck. Unexpectedly, in the elevator, he runs into the police officers who are there to arrest the chairman. He gives them the wrong floor and takes the opportunity to go ahead into the office. Meeting the chairman, Gwansuk reports that he has completed the mission, killing the wife's ex-husband. But now he needs more money to make one last bet before the official salvage team arrives. The chairman tells him to wait. As soon as he finishes speaking, the police break down the door and arrest the chairman. That very night, the loan shark's sister-in-law comes to see Gwansuk. Even though the chairman has been arrested, she remains loyal. She insists on fulfilling the chairman's instructions and hands Gwansuk 20 million won, telling him to go kill Youngsuk. Gwansuk asks for permission to go home. He tells his wife to quickly take the money and take the children far away as soon as he leaves, because he doesn't even know if he can survive and return. On the other side, Youngsuk hears that the chairman has been arrested and knows that everything is completely over. But for her, the chairman going to jail seems like a good thing because if he didn't, he definitely wouldn't let her go. Just then, Hee-dong calls, reporting that he has brought all the pottery. But with him is also Seonja. The two women immediately show a dislike for each other, and the atmosphere is very tense. But now the main thing is still more important. Hee-dong wants to sell the pottery to Youngsuk. He demands that she pay in advance. But the wife doesn't have much cash right now, so she offers to have it appraised and sold first, and then share the profits with Hee-dong. But Hee-dong doesn't trust anyone anymore. He insists on getting the money first. Hearing this, Hee-dong hesitates. He follows Youngsuk to her base, which is the designer clothing store. After seeing the pregnancy test that his wife gave him, he believes her about 80 to 90%. But business is business. From the beginning, his relationship with his wife has had no feelings involved, so no money, no talk. He says that at most, he can give his wife an antique as a gift, which is considered paying back the 1 million won. Seeing the situation like this, Youngsuk has to take out some cash, saying this is a deposit, and the money will be divided equally with Hee-dong after it's sold. Hee-dong is hesitating. Then, in the next second, Gwansuk, based on the address provided by the loan shark's sister-in-law, finds the designer clothing store. He directly captures Seonja, who is waiting outside, demanding that Hee-dong and Youngsuk have to go with him to talk in private, and of course, they have to bring all the pottery too. On the way, Gwansuk, for the sake of blood relations, tells Hee-dong that the two uncles and nephews will part ways peacefully and go their separate ways. But Young-suk is determined not to let go of her easily. The three of them arrive at a cliff. Kwon-suk intends to push Young-suk down, but she is scared and begs for her life, promising to give him money. Just then, the sister-in-law appears, urging them to act. At the same time, her henchmen drive the truck full of pottery away. Kwon-suk agreed to help kill someone, but he didn't say he would give her a whole truck of pottery. Meanwhile, when his uncle tries to kill Young-suk, Hee-dong doesn't do anything. But when he sees the car about to be driven away, he risks his life and jumps onto the car, wrestling with the henchman. He's even stabbed, but eventually manages to knock the guy out. In the moment that Kwon-suk is distracted, Young-suk seizes the opportunity and runs away. Kwon-suk no longer has the mind to chase after her, because he sees the truck about to drive off the cliff, and several boxes of artifacts are falling out. Kwon-suk has no choice but to quickly jump into the car, press the accelerator frantically, trying to drive the car back to level ground. But the car still slides towards the edge of the cliff due to inertia. Hee-dong struggles to get up, quickly takes a rock and wedges it behind the rear wheels, but still can't save the car from sliding down the slope. Kwon-suk also risks his life. He climbs onto the truck bed, intending to move each box of artifacts down. But at that moment, the car completely loses balance, pulling Kwon-suk straight down the cliff. Witnessing this scene, Hee-dong feels that all hope has vanished. He drags his wounded body, trying to go back to the girl he loves, but collapses on the road from blood loss. Young-suk escapes one disaster, but the chairman still doesn't let her go. That night, she hides in a small motel, intending to flee abroad. Unexpectedly, the assassin finds her that night. This time, perhaps she won't be lucky enough to escape again. 1 year later, the police officer with the burns has found an antique shop. Seonja, since that night, has not seen Hee-dong again. She goes to Seoul and finds a job related to fashion that she loves. In her hometown, there are still constantly local people or people from other places coming, wanting to dive into the sea to find artifacts, causing countless bloody cases to be reported in the news. Unexpectedly, one day, her fashion store has a familiar customer visiting. The moment their eyes meet, both of them are overwhelmed with surprise and joy. They have found each other again. One day, Hee-dong is reading the newspaper and sees a news item. Turns out that Kwon-suk didn't die either. He is still continuing his antique trading business.